just to kind of get everything started, if you can, maybe share a little bit about, your company, you and your brother, and introduce yourself, introduce your company, if you don't mind.
Okay. I'm Darren. My brother and I have our business. We've done it since we were 6 years old. Let me do a little switch here.
You just gotta find an easier way of it.
Let me see.
Be less strenuous,
That's my brother right there.
Awesome.
Okay. So, and what we do is we do concrete slabs, foundations. We was looking into ICFs, the insulated concrete foundations, but everybody up here is doing that. So we decided to go in the other direction because, to me, I think that would make sense. So this is our basement here. And this wall right here, this short wall, we did mostly with the mule. We parked it right about here, and we laid most of them block, and we set the cubes in the hole right there. So that wall I did this corner over here. Let me see here. Okay, that right there I did. I set the mule up right here in these tracks, and I laid almost half of that wall with the mule. And over here on this side, I set the mule up right there on that pad, and I laid that half with the mule, and then that other short wall right there.
So Darren, if you can maybe walk us through a little bit of the history, and I love seeing the job there, but a little bit of the history of kind of how you heard about the mule, what made you decide to move forward with buying one?
Okay, what I did was I did the math, and I completed my industrial engineering degree, and that was 2 years ago, and I started doing research on a construction, something to help in construction. So I didn't see the mule at that time. However, I did see, I believe it was the mule. I do believe I seen it. I just don't remember it because I was starting to look at a laser screed, a Samaro, and the mule. And I leaned towards the Samaro because last year, which was a laser guided concrete pouring screed, last year we did more concrete than we did block work. So last year I was leaning towards that, and I kept doing, I looked into the mule, but I didn't look into it that much. It was last fall, or this spring it might have been, but I looked into it last fall, and I started doing the math with the numbers on concrete, and I started doing the math with the numbers on the mule. So they both come out really in a really good general idea where we could save about 10 to 15,000 a year. And we are also running into a problem with employees, especially in Northern Michigan. Everybody's got a hard time hiring employees, but we have a especially hard time up north. So the employee that we had last year was a good worker, but he would need a day off every couple of weeks, and most of them have problems and issues they have to resolve up here. So we'd give him a day off about every 2 weeks. The employee would want a day off. He ended up quitting, finding another job. We hired 2 other employees, and they wouldn't show up sometimes probably 2 days a week. They wouldn't just show up. And we learned that we have to work with that. It's not set up for an employer, it's set up for an employee. So they ended up quitting, and when they quit, I had already about 2 months before that, because I had a gut feeling they were going to leave, I started looking into the mule, and that's when I contacted Construction Robotics. And Scott and Tom come out, showed it to us, and we already had our mind made up we were going to buy one. We just needed to know if we could afford it or not. And when they come out, showed us how it operated, we were just pretty much sold. So that's when we decided. Then we didn't really have to talk it over. We had to wait a little bit to get more financially ahead in case they needed a down payment. That way, when we went to buy one, I wasn't just talking like, hey, we want one, but we can't afford it. So we got everything ready in that couple of months. And then when we could do it, we contacted you guys and we bought the mule. And it's definitely paid off. We have, well, I'm going to say about 3,000 block with it laid by now. And in that 3 months, we haven't needed an employee. So we probably saved about $6,000 in that 3 months, maybe more.
Wow.
You know, so yeah, it's definitely going to pay for itself.
How easy was it to learn when you guys first started learning it?
Well, my first day was operator error. I had to get to know it. And after a couple of video chats, we started to just get to know it like we had been running it all our life. We've been doing construction since we were 6 years old. And once we started to get the feel for it and how to use it, it just started feeling natural. 3 weeks ago, we put in a 10-hour day and we laid 580 block in 10 hours, which I don't rate anybody on how fast they can lay. But my point is, usually after about 4 hours, my back is hurting so bad that I want to go home, or I'll just tend my brother and we slow right down. Where with that 10-hour day, I could keep right on laying and tend my brother, and he could just continuously lay leads. He lays the corners up, and when he lays the corners up, I can tend him, and then I fill in. I go through with the robot or with the mule and fill in. And also, we have had probably about 70 people up north just to come over and look at it and watch us work. That's and awesome. Now with that in mind, I don't want to get our hopes up yet. We had a contractor talk to us about 50 crawl spaces because he asked, it was a contractor that we worked with when we was younger, and he called us up and said, hey, could you help me with these crawl spaces if I do them? And we said yes. He knows that we have the mule, and that's, I'm not going to say that's what's getting us the work, but that has a big part in why we possibly may be getting these 50 crawl spaces.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
So that'll be a whole year, maybe 2 years worth of work. We told them that we needed 3 days for each crawl space, which is a day for the footings and then a day to lay block. So we actually only need 2, but we told them 3 because I know with the mule, I can lay them 4. It's a nice rectangle. I can lay them 4 walls in while Brian and my brother lay the leads up. I know I can keep up filling that in.
And how many block are typically in a crawl space?
There'll be about 600 in that crawl space because it does have a 16 by 20 garage, I think is what they were, attached to it. It's just a small garage.
So you guys are thinking you can, with really 2 people and the mule, get close to that 600 block a day? Or...
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know with Brian and us, I know we can do a crawl. We could actually do one in a day if you could take out inspections, because we could have the job set up and the footings dug in a matter of 2 hours, an hour to pour the footings, and probably about 9 to 12 hours to lay them block. So in reality, 16 hours, we could have that crawl space up with Brian's help. If we don't have Brian's help, my brother would just do the leads and I'd fill in. We may need 3 days. That's why we told him possibly 3 days.
Yeah.
But
and those are all your foundations, all your crawl spaces, are those 12s? Or are you guys laying 8s at all, or has it all been 12s?
Them will be 8-inch block.
Okay.
So
talk to me a little bit about, like you had mentioned, the potential savings for you guys. I mean, what is really the cost of ownership on the mule? I mean, how would you classify the cost of ownership of the mule? Or
okay,
potential ROI?
We was spending around $20,000 to $26,000 a year on payroll. Now that includes insurances and all the little overtime every once in a while when we really had to. So you figure $26,000 a year. Now with the mule, we're going to keep our workman's comp, but that's going to come down. So our insurance is going to lower. And also we don't have payroll, which is about $3,200 a month to $4,000. for just 2 employees. So in 6 months, that's $24,000. So when you compare that to the cost of the mule and your insurance going down, that's where I come up with the $10,000 to $14,000 a year we'd be saving.
Yeah.
So
That's
it will save you money. If you're in business, it will save you money.
And so a lot of, I guess I'm curious your opinion on this. We get feedback from a lot of contractors that, mules are great for heavy block, maybe not as good for lightweight block, or they'll say, when I get the right project, you guys are out there laying regular 8-inch block with it and doing small jobs, basements. So, what would you say to those contractors that feel like they don't have the right job or really, it isn't good for the smaller block?
Well, I'm going to use a basement we did last year for an example. We laid 2,200 12-inch block. It took us 3 weeks, and that's with 2 laborers. I think with that mule, we would have been done in 2 weeks. The reason being, the 12-inch are a lot heavier. You have to reach over more, and my back was hurting at 10 o'clock. Not at noon, it was at 10 o'clock. Now, we start at about 7, get to the job at about 7:30. So I'm going to say in a 2.5 hour period, after I lay about 100 block to 120 block, my back is hurting so bad, I can barely stand up.
Yeah.
If we would have had that on that basement, we probably could have had in a week them block up and maybe even less, because my back wouldn't have been hurting. We could have kept right on laying in a 10-hour day. Now, we're trying to keep it just to 8-hour days, but we just decided with all the work we got, and it's hard for us to tell people, no, we can't do it. We just work 10 hours a day. I had a customer contact me last night on a little 10 by 10 slab. And he said, well, it's just a little slab. And I text him back, well, we got like 15 of them jobs. And, plus we got 4 more basements to do this year. So I don't know if we can squeeze it in. My point is, with all the work that we have and just my brother and I don't want to say we're keeping up, but we did do a crawl space this spring, and they were doing a 28 by 28 garage next to the crawl space we were doing. They had 5 guys and they didn't have that up. It was only 5 block high. They didn't have that up in a day with 5 guys. So my brother and I are thinking that we're slowing down, but we're thinking we know we could have had that up in a day, even if I would have quit at about 11 o'clock or noon. So with me being able to just go in and fill in, and my brother doing the leads or the corners, we can move pretty good.
You've had the mule a couple months now. You're liking it. It's going well. What do you figure your ROI is going to be? What do you figure your how long do you pay for the mule?
Oh, I believe it's a 4-year loan.
Oh, okay, and you're good. Like you guys feel like no problem making those payments, and the value's paying for itself.
We're saving double the payment a month.
Good.
So
Excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely paying for itself. We have, well, as of right now, we have $13,000 in the bank, and we're going to collect some more money tonight. And by the time we're done with that job, we can put a little bit more away. So I don't want to say we saved $15,000 already, but this time of year, we usually didn't have that much set for winter.
No,
if that
great.
makes any sense.
That's great.
We've got money.
What would you say to all the other smaller masons out there, or all the other masons out there that are looking at the mule but sitting on the fence, not sure if it would work with them? Got any advice for them?
Yep. I would say $6,000 on payroll, or a $1,200 to $1,500 a month payment on a mule, and you're going to get the same thing. You could put the $3,000 in your pocket. So
That's
it's $75,000 to a doctor, or 75 to 85 for the mule. That's my advice. Get one. I wouldn't go without it now.
Awesome.
It's just like an excavator. Once you get used to an excavator, you don't want to jump on the shovel. Once you get used to the mule, you don't want to lay block by hand. You can some, but I'd rather lay 50 a day and the rest with the mule versus 300 to 400 a day with my back.
One of the things that you shared when I was up on site with you and your brother both mentioned it, but if you could just share it for Scott now, off the job site, just the overall, how you're feeling, back not hurting, but how is that impacting quality of life and everything outside the job site as well?
I can get out and do things with my kids after work. And before I was like, I just need to sit down for an hour on the massager and put ice on my back after laying block, not concrete, but laying block. And now I haven't used the massager since I've had the Mule. That I can say. And when I get home, I can go with my kids and I can take them up to the park. And if I want to walk around, I can still walk around. I don't have to say, well, maybe in an hour I need to sit down and rest my back. So my activity with my family is a whole lot better. My wife will tell you the same thing. So, and my kids will too. I can spend more time with them after work. They don't like the disruption. Sometimes when a customer calls, they know I'm going to answer it. If a customer calls, even if we're at a family function, we're them type of guys. We have to answer our phone. Even though we got plenty of work, we want to be able to tell the customer, we're sorry we can't get to it, or yes, we'll look at it if you can wait until next year. So we always try to reply back to our customers. And I'm with my family a whole lot more, and my back doesn't hurt. And if I want to play baseball or basketball with them, I can do it.
It's incredible.
Yep.
Well, it means so much to us, to hear, I think, the positive feedback from yourself and it just, the impact it's had on you and your family. And I think that's wonderful. And we're excited we could be a part of helping you guys grow and helping you feel better at the end of the day.
Yes, it is definitely a big help. If you only use it 2 days a week for a summer, it's worth it. If all you do is block work, definitely get one. That I can tell you. If all you do is block work, get one. If you do the combination block work and flat work, I'd still get one because it'll improve your time and it'll improve your pocketbook. That I can tell you. I can show you firsthand. So, yeah.
That's great.
I knew it would be a good move, but and another good thing is the mess. We can have the block company set our cube of block 2 foot from the wall, and we can just start laying block. We don't have to pick them up and spread them out. So we're not moving block 2 times. I would say on this basement, we shaved off 12 to 16 hours. And when you're booked up with work, that 12 to 16 hours is a lot of time. That's 2 days. That 2 days we can fit. That's why we took on this crawl space that we're going to go collect money tonight on and probably start next week. That's why we can do this crawl space. Otherwise, we'd have been like, no, we can't get to it. And she would have found somebody else. So there's so many benefits. I can't even list them all. The savings in insurance, the savings with payroll, getting the job done quicker so you can squeeze 2 or 3, maybe 4 extra crawl spaces in a year, depending on what your work is, or even if they're slabs, you still can squeeze in 4 good residential jobs more a year.
Wow.
So, you figure your profits, let's say your profit's only $2,000, but you can squeeze 4 of them in more a year. That's $8,000 more that you're putting in your pocket because you can get to them. So, and like I say, these 50 crawl spaces, I think if this Mule has a big part of the reason that Brian knew about it, but Brian said, if I do these, I'm not going to do them if you guys don't help. And I said, let's bid them. We'll do them. If they accept your price, we'll take them. So I believe the Mule is a big part of why this guy is seriously considering hiring us, because they know us and they know Brian, and we work for Brian. So they know with us 3, it's a good combination. It's always been good quality work, and the price fits his budget. He had a bad experience with a concrete guy, and he said, it cost me twice as much to have it tore out and redone. And we're like, well, you should be able to go back on the contractor. Excuse me. Well, you know what that involves. That involves a whole bunch of work in court and all that. And the guy doesn't want to mess with that. He says, I'll take my losses and move on and just pay a little bit more and get it done right. So and when Brian told him that he'll do it, but Brandon and I have to help, the guy said sold. He okayed the price right there because he's heard about our mule too.
Yeah.
So pretty much everybody up here in construction has heard about it, even if we don't know them. So like I say, that's advertisement. That is definitely, I don't want to say free advertisement, but that is advertisement. We don't advertise. We haven't ever advertised, but there's a reason we have over a year's worth of work. And I know with the mule, the calls are still coming in. They're probably coming in more because people have heard that we got that. And we do move faster. I mean, to us, it's still a little slow, but most customers, every customer that has watched this mule, like this customer right here, he has sat and watched us all the 2 days while we lay block. They just enjoy watching the mule work. So
That's awesome.
Being really careful not to make a mistake. So
That's great.
The pressure was on, but you know what? We worked through it, and everybody we've done work for with the mule, they just love to sit and watch it. So That's another good thing. And they're telling 100 people, they're telling all their friends. So the word has spread out like crazy here in just these 3 months up north.
That's
so, yep.
And you've got the MZ100. How about charging? Is it pretty easy to charge up, and how long does that battery last you?
Yes, I actually on the crawl space about 3 weeks ago, when I started, it showed 16 hours left, and I believe that's when we worked a 10-hour day. When I got there the next morning, I think I worked for a couple hours. I didn't even think of charging it because I'm used to thinking 16 hours is 2 days. Well, the battery ran out on me. It took me about a half hour. I plugged it in with the generator, which we try not to use a generator, but there's no power source. We put it on the generator for a half hour, and I tried turning it on every 15 minutes. And after about a half hour, it turned on, and it was up to, I believe, 15% already. And now I just let it charge while I was using it, but it wasn't a big drawback. I mean, that was my fault. I should have been paying attention at the end of the day. That's where I learned. I'm still learning some of the stuff. At the end of the day, make sure you have 8 hours or 10 hours for the next day. If not, charge it. So that was kind of my fault on that one.
Yeah. But in general, you like having the battery, like it's great. Just flip it on and you're good to go.
Yep. I wouldn't want it any other way.
What is your setup there?
Yeah, if there was more buttons and more complicated, I would do it, but man, it's just so simple. Turn it on, give it a minute, hit the power button, and you're laying block. You give it 1 minute from the turn it on button, and 1 minute you're laying block.
That's awesome.
So, and we just leave ours set up, like I say, and put block behind the tires, leave ours set up right where we end, or get it set up in the next spot for the next day. That's what we did here. We moved it from one side to the other and put blocks behind the tires of the trailer. I put it all back together, locked everything down. The next morning, I unlocked it, turned it on, hit the on button, and within a minute, I was laying block. And that's on this basement, and that's from having it all locked up to extending it out and starting to lay block. So yes, it couldn't be any more simple. I don't see any way you could improve on that, but it is really nice.
I really appreciate the time you spent with us, and I don't know, Matt, if you've got more questions. I got my questions answered, and it's just amazing for me to hear, like I said, the positive impact that it's had for you guys and how much you like it. And we love hearing the stories. We love to continue to partner with you, and obviously we're here for you if you ever need anything. I do have one last question for you. I know you've had to call into, I think you've had a couple calls into like customer success or training, our team here. How's CR treated you? How has Construction Robotics been to work with?
Oh, it was great. It was great. You couldn't get, the customer service is excellent. When I called, they had Brandon call me right away, or I believe I talked to Brandon right off the bat, and he said Matt was gone, and he answered my questions. When I took the videos to see what I was doing wrong and was sending them in, the answers came back almost exactly the way I needed to hear it. It was when I believe it was Matt that said, push the button in longer and just hold it for a second. And once he told me that, and I did that, it just started working smooth.
Great.
I mean, the customers, it was hard for me to understand what they're saying because I had my mindset in a completely different mode. And once I trusted the mule and thought, well, I've got to get to know this, whether I like it or not, if I want it to work. Once I realized that you have to trust it and just let it work for you, like they said, let the mule do the work. Once I put that together in my head and started realizing that's what I had to do and just giving it a second, it was smooth. Customer service was excellent. And when they told me just let the mule do the work, just give it a second, that's what I needed to hear as a customer. I needed to hear, don't rush it, because in concrete, it's rush, 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 rush. And when they told me just let the mule do the work and give it a second, and when I did that, it just all started coming together. They told me exactly what I needed to know. So customer service is excellent.
Awesome. Any other things you want to share with us? Before we wrap, been super appreciative of taking your time this afternoon to talk with us. Anything else you want to share with us before we kind of wrap up and let you go?
Well, my dad is a 50-year vet, would have never considered buying anything like this. And when he saw it, he just loved it right off the bat. And my dad's one of them dads that are hard to please. And when he's seen that, he's like, wow, this is probably the best investment you guys ever did. And I'm like, yeah, that's, we can't keep employees and my back's hurting. And he's like, yeah, I would have probably thought about that, if I was still in business, 20 years ago. So if you can get a concrete vet that does everything old school and doesn't want to change, he actually said he would have got one 20 years ago. If he is 20 years younger and still in it, he would actually consider getting one. You don't hear that from them vets. So I'm actually
That's
pretty
incredible.
happy he said that.
Yeah,
that's all he did was lay block and do concrete for 50 years. So for him to say that, that's a real big thing.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't understand, the money and how you can save the money. I could explain it to him, but my dad doesn't think like that. He just looks at muscle power all day and, getting the job done. So with him just looking at that and knowing that the mule is going to improve our time, I mean, he's seen that right off the bat. So, and my dad isn't into robotics, but when he seen the mule, he just was like, yep, that will definitely save you guys time. That is a real good investment.
That's awesome.
So I let him operate it, and he did a couple block, and yeah, he really liked it. So you can get a guy with no experience to operate this, then you're definitely doing something right. So you guys are definitely doing it right.
Good. Well, thank you so much. I unless you got any more, Matt, I mean, I'm thrilled and just really enjoy the opportunity to hear from you and enjoy the chance to, hopefully share some of your thoughts with some of our other customers and other people in the industry. And obviously our goal is to try to continue to save backs and bodies and help all you Masons out there, feel better at the end of the day. And I think you and your brother there are a testament to the value that the mule can bring. And so we love hearing the stories, keep sharing them, and we'll make sure that we get up there and shoot some footage with you. And I got one last question.
Yeah.
Do you have CR? You got some good CR t-shirts or no?
Yes, they sent 2 with them, and thank you very much. I do wear them. I keep them clean though. I don't wear them on the job because I don't want to get them dirty yet.
That's all right. We'll get you some more good CR swag for sure.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll wear them. I just don't want to ruin them. I'm one of them guys. So yeah, I try to keep it as new as I can. And when it starts to get old, then I put it into concrete. So,
Sounds good. All right, Darren, appreciate the time, and look forward to hopefully seeing you up there at some point again soon.
thank you guys. Yes, I will email one of you to let you know when we're going to start that job. And whether you make it or not, I want to get some footage on that crawl space, because that'll be a nice, easy one. And when we get to that basement, I want to get some footage on that too, because that's going to be a complicated one. So I'm going to get a nice, easy one and a really complicated one. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right.
Let us know.
All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate the time. We'll be talking soon.
Okay. Have a good one.
All right, take care.
All right.